Everybody got really quiet, so we might as well get started with this celebration in Newcastle. It is a great day to be here. My name's Rick Valello. I am Deputy Secretary of Community Affairs and Development at the Department of Community and Economic Development. I'm here on behalf of Governor Shapiro and Secretary Seiger. It is a long time coming, and those that follow Act 47 and the distressed community mantle knows that it's a challenge. I've been at these things and I've compared it. Those that are old enough to know the band the Eagles and the song Hotel California, that you can get in but you can never get out. Well, we've been successful in a lot of places, getting municipalities and cities like Newcastle, back on track with a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. And I want to quickly recognize the DCD team that is here for the celebration. Jonna Pro and Stephanie Stevenson from our Pittsburgh Southwest Regional Office are here. Kelly Robertson, the Executive Director of the Governor's Center for Local Government Services. Andrew Sheaf, who is the Deputy Director of the Governor's Center. And then Terry Kunkel, Honey Stemka, Joy Franzoli, John McGrainer, Bethany Williams are all here representing DCD. And then with me is my right hand, Evelyn Chinelli. The governor and secretary worry when I go out that they need to send adult supervision along because I'm a former mayor, and as a former elected official, I can get myself into trouble sometimes. So Evelyn's there to either get me out of trouble or from me getting into trouble. And then our partners, Gordon Mann, who's going to speak a little bit later, and then a longtime partner of the city, Debbie Grass, is here. It's a challenge, and when we look at where the city was and where it's going, and what put the city into distress status, it's a lot of hard work to make the hard decisions and negotiate tough contracts and cut where it needs cut to make sure everything is going in the right direction and the future looks good. And one of the things that I often say is it's not just about the next 2 years or the next 4 years when we look at election cycles. It's what's going to look like in 2040, in 2050, and 2060. And what are we doing to make our grandchildren proud? And if we think about what's important, if we think about our grandmothers, and if we think about the communities here in Newcastle, what are the grandmothers telling their grandchildren? Are the grandmothers telling their grandchildren they have to get out? And if they are, what are the things on the list? What are those reasons that grandmom's telling that to her grandchildren? And those are the things that should be on the top of our list to fix. We want grandmom telling her grandchildren when they come back for Christmas that you guys have to move back here. There's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of excitement going on. There's investments being made. Things are different now than they were 10 years ago, 16 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's a good place to raise a family. And if you move back, then I can pick you up after school. We can go to the playground together. Those are the things that make a difference. And those are the conversations that we need to be having. Distressed community status is a black eye. But, you know, anybody that knows me knows that I grew up with lots of black eyes. But you overcome that. You grow up and, you know, you see potential. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, with social media today that we didn't have years ago is staying in contact with family. And about six and a half, 7 years ago, I had posted on Facebook that I was going to Newcastle. And one of my cousin's husbands texted me, "I'm from Newcastle." And I said, "Well, I'm going out to meet the new mayor." He says, "Well, that's my cousin." So technically, me and the mayor are cousins through marriage. So it's really good to be here with family, talking about family and talking about the future, and being part of this ceremony. Chris, come on up. Passing the microphone and you straight there.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Let me start by giving some shout outs to some folks. So we have Mayor Anthony Mastrangelo here in the audience. I want to thank you for 12 years of service for the city of Newcastle and getting us to this day. Honestly, you passed the baton, you know, in 2020 to myself and the new council, and honestly, you set a wonderful framework and foundation for us to build off of and get us to this day. So thank you for being here. My team in the back, Stephanie Dean, who has been here since the beginning as well. I don't know why she has, but she has because she's passionate about this city. She's born and raised here, her family's here, and she's put her a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this city to get us to where we are today on the finance side and the operations side. She's been a wonderful person to work with. Ted Sad, who came in 2020 with me, is the attorney, and we've been able to clean up a lot and do a lot of great work together. And his advisement to me has been wonderful. And then our wonderful council members who have worked, you know, they have full-time jobs, they have families that they take care of, but never a dull moment when it comes to being right there, never a moment where they're not responsive and helpful and getting this and keeping the ship moving forward. So to all our council members, and Mary Ann, who has been here longer than all of us, this is her, she won't be in council anymore, but you know, I can't thank you enough for all the work that you've put into the city. All of the work, you know, even when we butt heads, all the challenges that we went through, we still always came out in a much better place. So I want to thank you all for being here. You know, I'm not going to be long-winded. You know, sometimes somebody actually watch the clock because I always think I'm only talking for 5 minutes and it ends up being like 20. But just to recap the last 4 years, it's been a great time. You know, we've hit, even despite the challenges that we faced with COVID, with the social unrest that we had going on across our country, we've been able to band together and really get and be successful in this. We knew coming in that this was our last 3 years of the Act 47 Exit Plan, being in Act 47, and honestly the outlook didn't look too good when we first got there, and I'll let Gordon speak to that a little bit more if he wants to, but it didn't look too good, and we knew that. You know, the initiatives, the scroll of initiatives that the state put on us, you know, they were, you know, insurmountable at times when we looked at them. They were challenging. We didn't know what to do. But we were able to look at things in a strategic way and really piece it together. You know, we had the initiatives that we were following here. We had the state or the city plans that had been developed over the last 16 years. And then we had great out-of-the-box thinking. It all paired together to get us here. So it has been for lack of, I have a few terms and analogies. We've been really resilient in this time. We did not panic throughout this time. We didn't fret, we didn't worry about anything, but we banded together and we achieved this great accomplishment in getting out of Act 47. So I owe it all, again, to my team, to the state, Terry and Debbie, who were there. You know, we might have butted heads on a lot of stuff too, but you guys stuck with us and really professionally helped us out and moved us forward. Gordon Man, who has been there constantly helping us out, consistently helping us out with the finances and the direction of the city for all this. In the room today, we have a lot of our partners as well, which is this format that we're in. We had a Downtown Business Association meeting happening from 11:30 to 12:30. So we decided to do this together last month, and so we can have some representatives from our Downtown Business Association. Pat Amabel is here with us. Some folks from the Chamber of Commerce with Ben Bush in the back and Paul Bucciarelli. We have folks from CareerLink. We have folks from the tourism, Dawn Services. All have played an integral part in everything that you guys have accomplished today. We also have our commissioners who, are planning with us right now, have invested large amounts of dollars in our blight reduction and even our improvements to our streetscapes in our downtown, and our engineers who we cry on each other's shoulders half of the time, but they've been there through blood, sweat, and tears as well. So this is a partnership here today, and we wanted to show, the state, how we've come together. We wanted to show, that we are in this for the long run, and that resiliency goes on. We're not out of the challenges aren't gone, so we still have a lot of work to do, and the discussions that are being had now are very, very exciting. And to know that our future is going to be bright, and the things that we're working on we're going to make Newcastle the quality of life capital of Pennsylvania. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and please don't be afraid to grab a bite to eat before you leave. Thank you.
So before I was at DCD, I was 4-term mayor of Lockheed and started on council. So I ran for election 5 times during that period. And that's proof that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So one of the things that we need at DCD is really smart people to work with us to get the job done. And Gordon Mann, PFM, is one of those guys. So Gordon, come on up.
Thank you very much, Rick. Hopefully this won't sound like a like an award ceremony speech, but I also wanted to thank a couple of people who've been with us through this process. PFM is the company that the Commonwealth brought in 16 years ago to work with the city to get from the point it was to the point it is today. I want to thank Debbie Grass, who's been a partner from the very beginning to the end. She's had a great, distinguished career, and this is her hometown. So I hope this was, there was a level of personal gratification to be able to bring some of the skills and experience she has to help a community she cares very deeply about. I want to thank the department for giving PFM the opportunity to do this work. I was with Kelly and Andrew in a community that is in a very different part in the journey last night. They're just starting, so they're in the, I'm not sure if they're in the anger or denial phase, but they're in the very early part of that process. And whether it's that point or this one, it's such an honor for us to be able to do this work, not just as a company, but just personally. And I want to thank one other person who's been a partner throughout this. She was mentioned earlier, but Stephanie Dean, who I've worked with from the very beginning. I was just speaking with somebody about Newville, the community we were in, or actually it was Chester. I was talking with, I'll still going to call you Commissioner Boyd, but I was talking with him about Chester, and I said, the real difference is Chester doesn't have Stephanie, right? And Stephanie here, she could step in, and she did, and with some support, but a lot on her own, turn this place around in terms of the finance, in terms of just doing very basic things right every single day, making sure you have the money to pay it, and equally as important, with the support of an elected official, and I'm still going to call you Mayor Mastrangelo, alongside of her, and then Mayor Fry. Sorry, I'm still going to call you that. I can only remember people's names in short bursts. But to make those changes. I think it's great and really cool that you have the local community here, because this is really, there's a lot of state officials and probably a lot of names we've rattled off that you don't know, but this is really about you guys at this point. When the city entered Act 47, one of the reporters said, can you go back and tell me what it was like? And I had to go back to the original plan, the first Act 47 plan, and it was really bleak, right? Millions of dollars in debt, millions of dollars behind on your pension contributions, not sure we can afford a police and a fire department, all kinds of defaulted on a couple of bank loans, and there were some financial institutions that were supportive of us through that period as well. And you know, when you go through it in the 16 years and you make a decision and you make a hard choice and you balance a budget and you say no or you say yes to something when you increase a tax, you're just kind of focused on those steps. But when you look back from the beginning to the end, what you can appreciate is what that was all for was to put city government in a situation where it can be a constructive partner at this table, right? Where instead of when you talk about city government, you said, hey, did you hear they're going to increase taxes again? Or I think they're going to have to lay off a couple of people. Or did you hear what's going on down at City Hall? You could say, hey, did you see the lights or see the work in Cascade Park? That looks pretty cool. And it took me a little longer to get here tonight because the city was paving this road and I had to drive around it. Hey, did you hear about John? John's going to be a police officer or a firefighter, and he's going to work in this community for the next 25 years. And not just to get to the point where you do those things, but you can afford them, and you don't have to do it with gritted teeth wondering, gee, I wonder if they can afford that, or Stephanie's not trying to find the money and say, man, I hope we can afford that next year. Well, you can do that stuff because you should, and you can celebrate it, and you can move on. And that's what today is about. If this were a Hollywood movie, there'd be, you know, blaring strings, and I'd say something much more clever, and the credits would roll. But that's not what this is, right? This is reality. I'll say only a few more things, and I promise I'll get out of the way. And that you guys will get to work and continue to make this place better. Make the neighborhoods cleaner, make the streets safer, make the jobs and the local economy grow, and we'll make this place one of the shining gems in the western part of the state. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to work with you, and good luck as you take this next step. You've earned the opportunity to celebrate and to move forward.
Every once in a while this stuff goes on, you're also thinking about other things. And Evelyn's gonna have to give me a little leadway here because I am going to change things up. We're going to present the documents, but I want Terry Kunkel to come up. The departmental order is signed by the secretary and the governor, and I want Terry to give this to Chris. Come on up.
It's been a while since you graduated.
Congratulations. And I'd ask DCD staff and who the mayor's identified come up for some group pictures. And that's all. Thanks, everybody. Stay for food, drinks, network, but some pictures and then we'll wrap up. Thank you.